Welcome to this AllyCAD tutorial on how to draw easily and accurately. Here we will discuss the jump modes. The jump modes help you to draw quickly and accurately by positioning the cursor in the correct position. If you've not already done so, check out our other tutorials to see how some of the jump and snap functions work. We have used some of the jump modes in our other tutorials. Here we will run through some of the more commonly used jump modes. You can access the jump modes by selecting Tools, Jumps, or you can use the shortcut key on the keyboard. We'll now run through some of the jump keys. Press the H key and the cursor jumps to the center of the screen. Note, this is the center of the screen and not the center of the page. Press the X key and the cursor jumps to the last fixed point of the cursor, indicated with an X. This is useful if you have found the point and the cursor is moved and you need to go to the point again. To set the indicator, select Settings, System Settings, Visual Indicators, and change the type to Last Entered. You can now change the style of the indicator if required. Press the J key and the cursor jumps to the nearest point. This could be the end of a line, the end of an arc, or the center of an arc. Press the I key and the cursor will jump to the nearest geometry intersection. This will only jump to geometry intersections, not to intersections between other entities or between other entities and geometry lines. Press the 0 key and the cursor jumps to intersections between two solid entities or solid entities and geometry entities, whichever is the nearest. It will not jump to the intersection between two geometry entities. The N key jumps the cursor to the nearest entity. It jumps to the nearest point on the nearest entity. Press the C key and the cursor jumps to the midpoint of the nearest line or the nearest arc. We'll now demonstrate the polar jump. Select Draw, Line, and press H on the keyboard to move to the center of the screen. Press Enter to enter the first point. Press the P key and you'll be prompted for a distance and a bearing. Type in a distance, press the Tab key to move into the bearing box, and enter a bearing. Press Enter to move to the position, and enter again to lock the cursor in the position. The line has moved and been drawn the set distance and at the set bearing. We'll now demonstrate the coordinate jump. We have used this jump in a number of previous tutorials. To jump to specific coordinates, press the U key and you'll be prompted to enter the coordinates. Type in the coordinates you require, use the Tab key to jump between the coordinate boxes, and click on the Enter key or press Enter, and the cursor jumps to those exact coordinates. The ratio jump can jump the required ratio along an entity or between 2 points. Press the O key and you'll be prompted for the ratio factor. Enter ratio factor 0.25 is quarter of the way, and select the radio button to jump onto an entity or between 2 points. Select Entity first. Place the cursor near the entity and press Enter on the keyboard. The cursor jumps the required ratio along the entity from the nearest end. Press the O key again and this time select From 2 Points option and press Enter. AllyCAD prompts for the first point and the cursor changes to the point snap. Select the first point by clicking near it, and AllyCAD prompts for the second point. Select the second point by clicking near it, and the cursor has moved the required ratio from the first point. To demonstrate the next jump, we'll need to turn on the grids. Select Settings, View Settings, Grid Settings, and click the Grid Visible option, and then OK. Or you could simply click on the grid icon in the Snaps toolbar, and the grids are displayed. Select Draw, Line, move the cursor near the appropriate grid point, and press G to jump to the grid point. Press Enter to accept the point, move the line to the nearest grid point required, press G to jump to the grid point, and Enter to accept the grid point. We'll now turn the grids off by clicking on the icon in the Snaps toolbar. The grids disappear. Delete the line by selecting it and pressing Delete, and we'll draw a circle. Select Draw, Circle, Center plus Point. Position the center point anywhere and drag a circle and click. Right-click and select Quit. To find the center of the circle, if the cursor is positioned outside the circle, press the multiply key on the number keypad and the cursor jumps to the center of the circle. If the cursor is positioned inside the circle, press the E key on the keyboard and the cursor jumps to the center of the circle. To jump to quadrant points on a circle, 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and 9 o'clock, position the cursor near the required quadrant and press the V key. The cursor jumps to that quadrant point. Thank you for watching this tutorial. Look out for our next tutorial and visit our website to find out more about AllyCAD.